Hello everyone, and welcome to my first video in 2026. Today we're back in Train Sim World 6 on Just Trains' West Coast Mainline Preston to Carlisle route in the Class 86/2. And we are doing a run from Carlisle down to Preston with a mixed rake Mark 2F, what are these called? BSOs? Don't exactly remember. BSOs. Brake standard open, that's the one. A single solitary first class Mark 2A and another Mark 2F BSO, a Mark 2F first class, and a Mach 1 buffet coach. So yeah, we're I believe the service that we're doing today is, I believe those textures haven't loaded yet. The service we're doing today is 1 Victor 72 Glasgow Central to Paignton, and let's get started. So let's get you on loco brake, release the train brake. I am using the live weather mod by Winzarton, so train heat on so the passengers don't freeze. Let's also get some safeties. AWS. Okay, that was a bit fiddly. Let's do the fire test. That appears to be working. Let's crouch down and turn on the DSD. Yeah, so, oh, hang on, am I still crouched down? Yeah, there we go. Our stops today is just Preston, direct to Carlisle Preston service. Yeah, there's a 101 idling now off to the left. One night, the Class 86, I should remind viewers, is not included with Preston Carlisle. It is a separate add-on, and the Mark 2Fs are also part of the Class 86 add-on as well. We're also in, oh, hello. There goes is that a Class 87 mail train? I think it is. So, I'm also in the timetable that adds cargo line services from Cargo Line Volume 4 Military and Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear. So we should today see at least one military service, if I've timed this correctly. So, alright, let's go. Next stop, Preston, in almost 80 miles. And do bear in mind, it will be longer than that because it's not entirely in a straight line. I've heard that it's basically, I think it's about 95 miles that we're doing a direct trip between, and then add the 5 miles of track for the Morecambe branch, and that equals about 100 miles of route length in total. This is my favorite. I should say that the Class 86 on Preston Carlisle are both my favorite route and favorite train in the game. When the Great Western Express remaster comes out, I might change my opinion on that, because I do have a great fondness for the Paddington to Reading line, as I've travelled pretty extensively on it in real life. But yeah, we'll see when it comes out. Let's notch down. Let's see. Oh, there is another 86, I believe. Yes. It's the Intercity 2 with the version without the RCH cables and the high-intensity headlamp. Another rake of Mark 2Fs on the back of that. We do have a neutral section coming up, which should be interesting. Wonder what service that was. It is 1 Sierra 49 Nottingham to Glasgow Central and Edinburgh Waverley. Wow, okay. I think I've driven that before on the channel. Ooh, hello. cement wagons from the Tees Valley line. And there's the neutral section. Run it down. Don't want to have an we don't want to initiate an overload. That release. I know, like, the system automatically switches itself off once it loses power, thanks to the neutral section. But if you overload it, that increases the wear and tear on the electrics. There we go. I still had to do an overload reset. That's interesting. Despite me having powered the train down, we're clear up to 75 miles an hour. I wanted to start 2026 off with doing a run that I'm very fond of. Like, Carlisle's doing this line with the 86, that is my current favourite experience in the game. I do prefer doing the slightly longer runs where you stop at all the intermediate stations, but yeah. I've done so many of them that I'm beginning to run out of ones that I haven't done before. Looks like we do have a freight train up on the left that is probably waiting for us to leave. Or is that no, that's a trip working. There's a Class 08 at the head there. It's pretty cool. Just past Upperby Depot on the left there. Give the Class 08 driver a friendly honk. There he is. I do love the trip workings because at Carlisle you have access to no less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 5 yards. Don't count Kingmore Depot. If you don't count Kingmore Depot. And there's a lot of, if you have all the appropriate layers, there's quite a few different trip workings you can do that with the Class 08. And the variety of, and there's also a lot of static wagons at Kingmore North Yard, along with some nuclear stuff here from Cargo Line Volume 5. Yeah, there is a lot of wagons here that can seriously cause performance problems, but I don't get up to Kingmore that often. Oh, I should also mention that this, I should zoom out a bit, this whole section of the line will also be included, like everything north of Upperby will also be included with the upcoming Carlisle to Whitehaven Cumbrian coast route that Just Trains are doing. Yeah, and then also, yeah, like Preston on this line was recycled from Blackpool branches, but Preston will also be recycled for a third time with Crewe to Preston. It's because Just Trains are trying to make a network of 1980s routes in the set in the northwest of England, and they're all supposed to like interchange with each other and have trains that you can, if you have one train, you can use it on both routes, sort of thing. And it's actually quite a genius idea if you think about it. I do like the idea. Just 58 minutes to do probably about 90 miles. This thing does take a bit to get up to speed, since, yeah, the 86 is not as powerful as the 87, and it's quite steep to get up here. One thing I do like about the 86, if we have a look here, is the blind animation. It not only comes down to here, but it also comes down further as well, which the Class 87 also has a blind similar to this, but the blind on the 87 only does this, like, up and down, if you get what I mean. Yeah. Alright, we are at maximum notches. We do have an 85 limit approaching. There's the M6 motorway. One reason I wanted to take out the 86 for a run is because DC4260 Productions, a TSW reviewer who is based down on the North Island of New Zealand, made a video on the lives of former British Rail Mark II F coaches that are now in which are now in service in New Zealand, and I'll link his video down in the description because it was meticulously researched and I really can recommend it. And yeah, apart from a gauge conversion from standard gauge to 3-foot 6-inch gauge to be on the New Zealand network, a lot of the Mark IIFs in New Zealand haven't changed that much since their British Rail days. But some have been completely rebuilt from the inside out, and which is really, really cool that is a thing. Like, I'm just glad that a lot of those Mark IIs are still in service. Let's go up to 100, which is our legal maximum for today. How's frame rate? 40, bouncing around quite a bit. Average of 43 frames a second. So, yeah, but do expect a diminishing frame rate throughout this whole run because of a current bug with the game itself, where trains that pass you by or trains that you see, like AI ones, are always loaded even once you pass them by and they're miles behind you. They're still loaded and taking up frame rate. So as you see more trains, the effect is cumulative. And yeah, Dovetail Games, to their credit, have got people working on the issue. Sorry, I should use present tense, shouldn't I? Have people working through the Christmas New Year holiday to get the issue fixed, and hopefully everything will turn out. Alright, approaching our top speed for today. We are also with, this is the Stroke 2 version of Class 86. I should mention that we are getting the Stroke 4 version with the Crewe to Preston route. So yeah, hopefully they should show up on this line. AWS. Right, shut it down. Someone, yeah. Alright, start site. Train brake on. If we have a red signal, it's for a good reason. Normally, these services are cleared all the way through. Oh, hello, sun's poking through. Nice that the live weather mod appears to be doing its thing, and I also have London Midlands signal visibility mod as well active. Let's cut the pack. Right. Let's try and just get enough notches just to keep speed. What train could be ahead of us? This line isn't, despite being one of the two main north-south main lines in the UK, in this time period, it's not too busy, with a preponderance for larger trains seeming to be the norm. So if there is a train ahead of us, we're in for trouble. Let's see, what are you? Oh, you are joking. We've got a nuclear train ahead of us. And because he's got KWA wagons, he's limited to 60 miles an hour. Oh no. We're done. Alright, guess I'll slow down to 60. Dang it! Oh, this wouldn't appear in the base timetable, of course. That service is only appearing because of Cargo Line Volume 4, and that is a red signal. Oh, I'm feeling pretty sorry for myself, I gotta say. Guess it is what it is. Hopefully, it's one of the services that gets that gets looped to allow other trains to pass by. We do have a number of loops on this line, specifically for that purpose. So, right, let's try and get up towards 60 miles an hour. Guess I'll be chasing yellows this entire run. At least as that guy doesn't get looped. Single yellow. Right. That's annoying. looks as though the sun's beginning to break through the clouds, which is absolutely lovely. Still have a long way to go. Still got to we're going to pass Penrith at some point. Oxenholme, Carnforth, Lancaster, and then eventually right at Preston. I have a feeling we might be late because, okay. Yeah. If we're stuck behind this military chap, not much point, we're in for trouble. What speed is he going at? Wait, he's been looped! Yes! Okay, that is excellent. Right, we have a clear line through to Preston. Let's punch it. Okay, he got looped earlier than I expected, I'll be honest. Did get looped a bit earlier than I expected. Right. There he is. Back to deciding that. 6 Golf 6-4 military service. Right. Getting photo mode ready. With some armored personnel carriers on the back. Right. Let's get a screenshot while we're here. Oh wow, hang on. I should do advance. There we go. Yeah, that's a decent lighting. Oh, can you get lined? Oh well. Guess I'll just try and line it up so we can get both the front end of the 47 and the 86 in. Let's get some depth of field going. Do like that's a decent amount of depth of field, and let's get some motion blur up. And let's take the shot. Oh, I did forget to mention that our train for today is 86205 City of Lancaster. Of course, custom 3D modeled nameplates thanks to a person who's not a member of the Just Trains team, but I cannot remember the name for the life of me. All of the person who does the 3D nameplates for Just Trains products in this game is not a member of the Just Trains team, but I think his name is Matthew Lewis, but do correct me on that in the comment section if I have that wrong, because yeah, 3D nameplates are absolutely immaculate. I really do love them. And look at that. Look, they're like pitted and weathered. It's so cool. Hang on, I want to take a picture of this. There we go. Took a screenshot of that because it looked nice. 66 miles to go. One thing I'm glad about with Crewe to Preston coming soon is that it'll be a bit of a change from it'll be British Rail Electrics mainly going on the line, yes, like on Preston Carlisle, but we should be able to do higher speed running for longer, and also it will be much more flat, because and so it'll be a bit of an easier run than Preston Carlisle, because Preston Carlisle it takes a bit of a knack. It's a bit of a knack getting used to this, because it is quite, yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily get into trouble. I actually remember one of the Just Trains team before this route was even released. Apparently, one of the people who was in charge of designing the simulation physics for the class 87, before the physics were finalized, and the class 87, if you didn't know, was designed to cut the power off automatically after 120 miles an hour. So we do have a neutral section coming up. So before that cutoff was properly integrated into the game, one of the team took a Class 87 with FFA and FGA container wagons. Oh, hello. Power's off. Right. Bit of an overload. Nothing we can't handle. Coming up on Penrith Station. Right. Well, I'll make sure to do a horn blast before heading through because we're going quite quickly. So where was I with my story? Oh yes. So the member of the team took the container train down the steep side of Shap, so from Shap down south toward Preston, and managed to get didn't put any brakes on, and managed to get the train to 150 miles an hour before the train derailed spectacularly. You could do that now because the 87, as I said, automatically cuts off the power like its real counterpart. But yeah, shows you how dangerous Shap can be if you don't know what you're doing in terms of brakes. Not having to stop at every single station does make this run a bit easier. You don't have to. Yeah. Alright, so. Also, I should mention that the sounds for both the Class 86 and Class 87 are not done by just trains, except for the interior button click sounds, which they're able to get access to real Class 86s and 87s in order to record them. But the exterior, like motor sounds and interior motor sounds and all that stuff, were actually recorded by Armstrong Powerhouse and have already been used for Armstrong Powerhouse's Class 86 and Class 87 enhancement packs for TS Classic. So, yeah, while they're not new sounds, Armstrong Powerhouse, despite like being a bit of a controversial developer, like charging way too much for their add-ons among other things, they do know how to record some good sounds, and these sounds are no exception. Like, they've really set themselves up as the gold standard for sounds in the train simulation space, and honestly, I'm not inclined to argue with that because these sounds are absolutely excellent. I've had access to the Class 86 for almost 6 months now. It came out in mid-July 2025. Strange to think that it was last year. It's last year already, and it's 2026. That'll take some getting used to, but yeah, the 86 hasn't aged particularly badly. There was one time where one of my mods was conflicting and basically stopped the Class 86 from layering onto the timetable, but other than that, it's been... that little conflict was fixed, and now, yeah, we are struggling to gain velocity even at maximum power. Let's do a fly past shot time, I believe. Just had to cancel the DSD. I do have external alerts on. Oh, I do like the livestock sounds. There we go. 80 limit coming up, 60 miles to Preston. But remember, the game calculates that by drawing a straight line. So we probably have an extra 10, 15 miles on top of that. That's one of the things which I think in Train Sim World does need to be resolved. I'm not going to talk about the diminishing frame rate issue because I've already talked about that on today's video, but the way the game calculates the distance to the next waypoint, it should calculate it via the actual track distance instead of the instead of the instead of the as the crow flies distance is really most obvious on mountain routes like Semmeringbahn or the Bernina line, because yeah, those lines are, yeah, like yeah, sometimes you're going multiple times the distance that you think the game tells you to, which is obviously quite unrealistic. Let's bring up the power here. It's strange to think that this route is set almost exactly 40 years ago. I think the timetable is based on winter of 1986. Now it's 2026, which means this is 40 years ago. That's... I know I'm not exactly old enough to have lived through the 1980s, but that seems... it doesn't seem like that's amount of time should have passed since then, if you know what I mean. Sometimes I don't make sense even to myself. But that's what you came in here for, viewers. You just hear me talk it. I just talk out loud, and sometimes I say, and I don't like make notes for these videos. I'm usually just off the cuff. Back up to 95 miles an hour. Here's Harrison sidings from the right. I have no idea of any timetable services that actually go up Harrison sidings, so if you could let me know if there are, please do let me know. I would like to try them out on the channel. One train that is really missing from the 1986 rail scene, and one that I hope Just Trains makes, is the class 370, I think it is, or otherwise known as the Advanced Passenger Train, or ATP. APT. That's another 86. APT, something entirely different. That's a Dutch safety system. Where are you going, sunshine? Cardiff Central to Glasgow Central and Edinburgh Waverley. Oh, I was actually going to record that service. One CRS61, but then I decided on this one instead. As I was saying, like, the Advanced Passenger Train, it was still running on the west. It was very close to... it was retired in 87, but it was still very much a part of the rail scene on the West Coast Main Line in this time period. And plus, I've always had a weird fascination with the APT. Like, oh, it's a big what if. Like, what would have happened if it actually came into proper service? It's going to always be one of those big what if questions about British Rail, and while a couple of APTs have actually been preserved, I believe there is one at Crewe. The only part of the 87 we've seen in TSW is a collectible for the West Coast Main Line Birmingham to Crewe route by All Aboard Studios, and that is a train I would love to see, because I've watched some footage of the Train Sim Classic version, and it looks pretty good. like, Dovetail Games did a pretty good job on that old add-on for TS Classic. But, yeah. Okay, I should cancel power because we are now at Shap Summit. There's some sea cow wagons, ballast wagons on the right-hand side. Yeah. I would really just, as I said, I would love to see the APT. And it means we would be able to go 125 miles an hour on these lines because normally the fastest you could go is 110 because that's what the top speed of the Class 87 is. There's a little sign on the left there. We're now starting to head down. 50 miles to go. Like the APT, it could layer onto quite a few routes, honestly. I think it would be able to layer onto Manchester Airport Commuter, I think. If I remember correctly, as a rail tour, it would be able to layer onto Birmingham to Crewe as a rail tour. It would be able to layer onto the upcoming West Coast Mainline Trent Valley route, also by All Aboard Studios. For for a rail tour, and then for passenger and then it could do passenger services on West Coast Mainline Preston to Crewe and West Coast Mainline Preston to Carlisle, and then show up on Blackpool branches as AI. So yeah, I know Just Trains hasn't announced anything of the kind yet, and the only recent announcement they've done is the Cumbrian Coast, Carlisle to Whitehaven route. But that is a train that I would love to see. Like, it's just such an exotic contraption for to go on the British Railways network, and the locomotive brake is not having enough of an effect. That is not good. The locomotive brake is on full and it's not slowing us down enough. Still accelerating slightly, as you can see, even at full loco brake. Approaching the Lake District. Well, I think we're already in the Lake District, to be fair. But we're coming up on the good section of the Lake District. There are quite a few add-ons I'm excited for. Let me see. I've got a list somewhere. There's some... Yeah. So, Tadami Line, of course. If you haven't seen my video of looking at Kiha 40 diesel rail cars in real life, which are going to be the motive power for Tadami, then I highly recommend going and looking at that, because I did a special trip out and everything, and it was a lot of fun. It was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun. And I'd advise, yeah, you go give that a watch, because, yeah, I'm probably the only Train Sim World YouTuber who has access to them in real life. So, yeah, as I said, go give it a watch. Then I'm also looking forward to the Grump Dog Great Western Express remaster, which we got a 10-minute gameplay showcase for recently. Here's T-Bay Goods Loop. What was I saying? Oh yes. So the Great Western Express remaster, we got a 10-minute gameplay showcase for that. It looks absolutely amazing. Then we also got one other. Then also we're going to get a livery pack for the HST with a. Well, it's a bit more than a livery pack. It's a lot of GWR HST liveries, but it's also a. Oh, we're in a neutral section. There we go. Yeah, the farewell pack will have a bunch of deliveries for the GWR HST, and we'll also have a Mark 1, what is it? Buffer coach, I think is what it's called. Here's the Lake District, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. Then, yeah. So the GWR HST farewell pack, I'm also looking forward to that. West Coast Mainline crew to Preston, I've already said some stuff about that, but holy, that's going to be a good route. It won't have any new stock, that's strictly new to the game, but it should have a lot of decent stock in there. I think I've taken a thumbnail here before. Oh well, it is what it is. Right, let's line it up. Let's decrease the depth of field a tad. There we go. And let's crank the motion blur. There we go. Yeah. Then, Cumbrian Coast, that's a recent announcement. We don't have any images apart from one very, very early render of the Class 108 diesel multiple unit that's going to be included with that. And also, yeah, that's going to be another Carlisle-based route, so it's going to have a section recycled from Preston to Carlisle. It's going to have the Carlisle area, the yards, and then also Kingmore yard recycled as well from Preston, Carlisle. Then the Medway Valley line by Firefly Simulations, that's going to be a modern set route with the Southeastern Class 375 Electrostar as the main mode of power. That's going to be a lot of fun to drive, because among other things, Firefly are a collection of people who used to make PC mods for TSW. They're the guys behind the Fife Circle and West Coast Mainline enhancement packs back in the day, and they are a very talented group of people, and Medway Valley already looks like a really, really good route. The 375 isn't technically new to the game, but the Stroke 3 and the Stroke 6 versions will be new to the game, as the only version we have right now is the Stroke 9, I believe. And among other things, they're implementing Class 87, the rake of Mark 3s and a Mark 1 NHA Guards van. Nice. What service you're doing, pal? Used to the Glasgow Central 1 Sierra 57. Is it the one that isn't that the service I recorded a video on yesterday? A few days ago. Not yesterday, a few days ago. I think it is. That's hilarious. Anyway, what was I thinking? Oh yes, but one of the things that has been implemented on the Class 375 is a working GSML radio, so you dial the head code in like you can on a lot of the old Armstrong Powerhouse enhancement packs for TS Classic. But not only that, it will also have a you'll be able to talk back and forth to the dispatcher, which using like pre-recorded voice lines, which we've already seen before in a couple of scenarios, but having that in timetable mode will be a lot of fun to have. Oh boy. Alright, shut it down, shut it down. It'll just make the experience a lot more realistic. And then also on Medway Valley there'll be layers from the old Southeastern High so the Medway Valley line will be Strood to Tonbridge, and then there'll be 13 miles of recycled Southeastern high-speed line, but very improved from a very improved scenery from Who Junction to Raynham, I believe it is. And there'll be layers of a lot of the older Southeastern stock, like the 375/9, the 465, the 395, the Thameslink 700, and then also 66 freight services, Cargo Line Volume 2, aggregate services. Like the potential for like different service varieties is insane, really. Then, the next one I'm excited for is Neckartalbahn, which is going to be the next route for Train Sim Germany. And when it got announced, I nearly fell off my chair in surprise, because for the first time ever, there is going to be a German steamer in the game, the Deutsche Bundesbahn BR23, I think it is. And to cap it all off, Train Sim Germany are doing improvements to the bodged steam physics that we already had. So that hopefully means that other third-party developers can then use those improvements to make steamers of their own. Like, there's a lot of untapped steam potential in TSW. Like, if you want to think about sheer variety, just look at the Caledonia Works arsenal from Train Sim Classic. There's so many. There's like at least 100 different DLCs from Caledonia Works for TS Classic, and it's just basically British steamers. Yeah, if we could have someone like Caledonia Works in Train Sim World just making a lot of different British steamers, that'd be a lot of fun. Like, I'm still holding out hope for a GWR King class, but yeah, like, imagine taking a GWR King class along the Riviera line. That'd be awesome. Anyway, I digress. So Neckartalbahn will have the Deutsche Bundesbahn BR23. The route will be set in. The route runs from Heidelberg to Neckarels and will be set in 1974. However, the route is fully electrified, so there is going to be an electric motive power of some kind, whether recycled and updated from a previous add-on, or being entirely new to the game. We just don't know yet what TSG are cooking in the background. So hopefully it's something good. There's town of Oxenholme off to our right-hand side. Oh, wrong button. There we go. What was I thinking? Yeah, next up, it's the Train Sim Germany Expert BR145. That looks... It's up from the two screenshots that TSG have released. It looks to be in pretty early stages of development. It will be for the Bahnstrecke Leipzig to Dresden route, which probably explains why there isn't an expert timetable for Leipzig-Dresden already. I'll be picking up the 145 not only for the expert timetable on Leipzig-Dresden, but also for the layering, because if the expert BR145 layers in we're coming up on Oxenholme. If the expert BR145 layers in for the other German freight locomotives like the 218, the 193 Vectron, the BR185, that would be so many services. It's across so many routes. It's not funny. Passing through Oxenholme. Button. There we go. Then the expert BR145 should have so basically, if you know the expert BR101, it'll have basically the same features as that, i.e. working circuit breakers, working fully functional fault simulation, and all the other trimmings that comes with an expert level locomotive. However, there will be a couple of other completely new features, like you'll be able to connect the air hoses. You'll be able to connect air hoses manually. You'll be able to, and I think there's one other feature which I just cannot remember off the top of my head, because the expert level locos in this game are just seriously underappreciated. We only have one, the Expert 101, and that is such a good train. But I think what really hobbles the Expert 101 is the lack of playability. While it substitutes in across many routes, there aren't too many intercity services on each line, which I've heard is realistic. Deutsche Bahn doesn't really run that many intercity services in real life. Now, I would love to see something like an Expert ICE train, like an Expert ICE 1, or maybe an ICE 3 or an ICE T, or even better, the ICE TD, which is the only diesel intercity express train that Deutsche Bahn ever ran. It was basically an ICE T, but with diesel engines. It was yeah, like, I think it was designed to run between Nuremberg and Dresden, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that. So it would be able to substitute onto the old Dresden to Chemnitz route by Dovetail Games, which is incidentally one of the few German routes that I still refuse to buy to this day. Anyway, yeah, like, ooh, hello, steel train. Class 87 with a rake of BBA steel wagons on the back. Anyway, and then, yeah, the other two routes I'm looking forward to are Liberec to Stara Paka in the Czech Republic and Lisbon to Setúbal in Portugal. Liberec to Stara Paka is being developed by a new third party called Vector Simulations, and it looks pretty good. There'll be two new forms of motive power included, the I think it's called České dráhy, or Czech Federal Railways Class 843 diesel rail car, and then the Class 750 Google's, I'm not kidding, that's its actual nickname, diesel locomotive. The route will be unelectrified, single track, maximum speed 100 kph, sort of deal. It looks really, really good. From the scenery that we've seen, it looks absolutely excellent. The scenery, preview images, all that. It looks absolutely excellent. New safeties, entirely new country to learn the procedures for. Like, I'm looking forward to it. And then the last one is Lisbon to Setúbal by Virtua via 360. This route will be a bit short at only 54 kilometers, but it will be the first Iberian broad gauge route, first Portuguese route, and will also have the Furtagus Series 3500 electric multiple unit, and it looks as though it will be officially branded by Furtagus as well, which will be absolutely excellent. I do really like that this is a third-party route that will be officially branded, because a lot of them aren't. Think of Cargo Line Volume 5 not having direct rail services branding, Tadami Line not having JR East branding, Lisbon to Setúbal not having České dráhy branding. But with Tadami, I can understand, because one, JR already have their own train sim, namely JR East Train Simulator. Two, JR are notoriously tight with their branding. There was someone who actually made a branding patch for the JR routes in Train Simulator Classic, and JR was like, JR took them out with a lawsuit. I'm not kidding, they took them out with a lawsuit for producing a free branding patch for other people in the community to enjoy for free. JR was like, no, well, lawsuit time, buddy. yeah, anyway. What was it? Trying to think of something else. Yeah, so Lisbon Setúbal, yes, bit short, but it will have the Series 3500 unit and also have the 25-day Abril bridge over Lisbon Harbour, which is an absolutely massive suspension bridge, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. I'm holding out for the Cascais line, but who knows, Virtua Via 360 might have that planned for a future route. Who knows? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. There is one more thing. I hope. I'm still holding out for an Amsterdam Centraal to Rotterdam Centraal route in the Netherlands, since Dovetail do have the Nederlandse Spoorwegen branding. Why can't we have it in TSW? Why can't we have like a more busy route? Because while Zwolle to Groningen is one of my favorite routes in the game, the real line is through one of the most rural areas in the entirety of the Netherlands. And if we could have a Netherlands route between two major cities, that gives like imagine how busy the timetable could be. That'd be absolutely awesome. Yeah, that's all the TSW add-ons I'm looking forward to. In other games, I'm looking forward to some Euro. I'm looking forward to the upgrade PMDG are going to do to the old 737-600 in from Flight Simulator 2020 to Flight Simulator 2024. Here's Comforth. Oh, there's a two-car 101. There's a Class 47 there. Ooh, and a Class 87, I think? Mail train. Don't see mail trains too often on this line. Anyway, so yeah, the other three, the PMDG 737-600, looking forward to that, despite the underwhelming release of the 737-800. I'm just looking forward to getting that upgrade to Flight Sim 2024 and then never buying another PMDG product ever again, because charging $30 for a simple port with basically no upgrades, with basically no updates whatsoever, was quite frankly a scam on PMDG's part, but I digress. I'm also looking forward to 3 upcoming Euro Truck Simulator 2 DLCs, namely Coaches, Ireland, and Iceland. Ireland and Iceland being 2 map expansions, and Coaches being an entirely new form of gameplay. That should be having it, because yeah, Truck Sim can get a bit repetitive, because yeah, you're taking a truck, picking up a trailer, dropping off a trailer, picking up a trailer, dropping off a trailer. It can get a bit repetitive, but their neutral section warning board, their having buses in the game should be an entirely new kind of gameplay. So you have to manage passenger satisfaction, driving A to B to C routes, that kind of thing. Hestbank signal box, my favourite place to train spot in the entire game. There's the fun fact, Hestbank is the only time the West Coast main line ever goes by the sea. So yeah, there's the Irish Sea, and that's the only time you'll see it for the entire West Coast main line. Anyway, Ireland and Iceland I'm looking forward to specifically because they're both major parts of the Euro Truck Sim map, which have been which we've needed in the game for, quite frankly, a while now. Then yeah, like Ireland. I'm also looking forward to the Project UK update that basically the SCS team are going over. There's a Morecambe branch. are going over the entirety of the older UK part of the base map in Euro Truck Sim and giving it a full rework basically from scratch. And it looks absolutely amazing. I imagine Project UK will release it at the same time as Ireland does, which is how SCS have operated before. They released the, in the meantime, before Project UK, Ireland, Iceland, and Coach's release, I'll still happily truck around Italia, beyond the Baltic Sea, Nordic Horizon, Scandinavia, Iberia, and France until those come out, because I've actually been having a ton of fun with the Nordic Horizons DLC, because like tricky Arctic roads, that kind of thing, and beautiful scenery. I mean, like, just like beyond anything else sort of scenery. Like even like this, even like Preston, Carlisle, this really pales in comparison to Nordic Horizons. Level of detail and just sheer beauty. It's made me want to visit Scandinavia even more in real life. Here's Lancaster. Ooh, there's the one train a day that starts with the Class 86. It starts at Lancaster. Excuse me, viewers. We do have a pretty steep uphill section of Lancaster. Now we only have 20 miles to go until we get to Preston. I do have real life experience with Preston. When I went to Blackpool earlier this year, I went via Preston, rode an Avanti West Coast Pendolino to Preston, and then hopped on the Northern 156 onto the Blackpool South branch. That was a lot of fun. And it made me realise how much the scenery of this line has actually unchanged in the 4 decades since Blackpool branches and Preston Carlisle were set. Apart from a lot of yards being downscaled, a different motive power, of course, it's basically a lot of the same, which is, like, I don't know what I was doing with my train of thought there. Sometimes I just lose the train of thought when I'm talking. Alright, we can go up to our legal maximum of 100 miles an hour. Alright, maximum speed. Frame rate is still pretty stable. 28 FPS is not bad for this long into a TSW run, I must say. There we go. Miles to go, and that's basically in a straight line with a bit of track winding. Actually, I was on a bit of a train of thought, because see what I did there? Since we're on a train of thought, never mind, I'll just bow myself out. Anyway, what I was thinking was, ooh, some nice stone barns off there to the left. I have to stop getting distracted. The one train, Class 86 a day, that starts at Lancaster and heads down to Preston is eventually heads to Birmingham International. And I was thinking Birmingham International. Then that train of thought then led on to Birmingham Curzon Street. Oh, hello, A6. Wonder where he's going. Birmingham Curzon Street, Taunton to Inverness, 1 CRF59. That's a long way. Anyway, Birmingham Curzon Street, which is going to be the terminus for the High Speed 2 line, which is currently being built between Old Oak Common and Birmingham Curzon Street. And I was just ruminating on the utter disaster High Speed 2 has been. I'm a fan of high speed rail. I think under certain circumstances it is a brilliant idea to alleviate pressure on roads and upgrade or replace older, more windy lines that just can't handle higher speed stock. But the way High Speed 2 has been handled is just so beyond the pale. And I'm actually going to do... I do apologize, viewers, but I do want to do a bit of a rant on this. So, I don't think we're going to make Preston on time, by the way. We have to do 14 miles in 8 minutes, and I don't think that's going to happen. Especially since once we start getting into Preston and we have to slow down. Anyway, HS2. Why does it terminate at the moment? It's currently going to terminate at Old Oak Common, which is bizarre because it's nowhere near any major London terminus, and it isn't even a major terminus at the moment. It's on the Great Western Main Line and Elizabeth Line between Paddington and Slough, but why they chose Old Oak Common of all places to put HS2 is just beyond me. The original plan was to have HS2 go to a new part of Euston Station, which I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. But while work is being done at Euston to accommodate the new line, the permits for the line between Old Oak Common and Euston have not been approved yet, which means construction hasn't started. You'd have thought they would get the permits by now if they were going to do it. 87 with a rake of Mark 3s. Let's have a look, see where he's going. Where are you going, pal? 1 Papa 02 Euston to Carlisle. That's the one that's the service I recorded in my last Preston to Carlisle video. That's hilarious. Anyway, yeah. Then HS2 itself. It was originally going to go to Leeds, Manchester, and East Midlands Parkway, if I'm not mistaken, which is all fair enough. Like more industrial cities in the Midlands do need a higher speed connection to London. But there is a problem with that. I think it was a couple of years ago now, the government announced it was cutting back High Speed 2 to Birmingham Curzon Street, which is on the face of it baffling. Because why are you cutting off the only bit that was going to make HS2 a good idea? And yeah, it just doesn't make that much sense. From a financial standpoint, it also doesn't make much sense because of my final reason. Because of people's, quite frankly, ludicrous statements that the High Speed 2 would ruin the view of the Chilterns, a lot of High Speed 2 had to be put underground in tunnels. This has caused meaning the cost of HS2 has ballooned to £20 billion, making it the most expensive high-speed rail line anywhere in the world. And on top of that, it's basically put back the line's opening by more than 10 years. Which... Ow. Neutral section. Uh-oh. We don't have power. Pantograph down. We don't have any power. yeah. If those people hadn't complained about how HS2 was going to ruin the view, High Speed 2 would probably still be going to Leeds, Manchester and East Midlands Parkway. Uh-oh. We have a problem here. I can't re-raise the pantograph. There we go. That scared me for a minute. I thought I'd be coasting all the way to Preston. Anyway. Yeah. Meaning High Speed 2 has become one of the biggest boondoggles in the history of rail travel. There's a... Mind you, I'm not letting other rail operators off easy. I'm not just... And I can hear you all leaping down to the comment section and saying, why are you spiting the British? Other countries have made crazy high-speed rail projects too. And I totally agree, but the scale of the British incompetence has been, quite frankly, absurd. But I should... And I say this as a person who's half British and absolutely loves Britain and thinks it's a great country. Anyway, there are other high-speed rail projects which have failed too. Like, even the Japanese aren't immune to failed high-speed rail projects. In the 1960s, there was actually going to be a high-speed rail project put through from Tokyo Station to Narita International Airport. But due to massive, it actually got put in the, it got past the planning stages and actually started construction, but due to massive public backlash, the project was cancelled and the buildings were abandoned. This is back in the 60s sometime, I believe. Then, in the more modern era, the Nishi Kyushu Shinkansen on the South Island of Japan, it was going to go from Fukuoka to Nagasaki, but they've only built half of it, and only half of it is operational due to one prefecture in the middle not wanting to give planning permission or put money forward to finance it, because quite rightly they don't see themselves benefiting economically from it, which makes sense in my books, since most of the people on the line would bypass them and then head on to other bigger cities. So, but then JR just went and built half of it that wasn't in Saga Prefecture, and they're just operating half of it. So to get to Nagasaki via bullet train, you have to take an express train on the old line from Fukuoka, then change to the bullet train, and then get off at Nagasaki. Because, yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Frame rate's not doing too good. 20 FPS. But, yeah. For this long into a run, it's actually quite high. It's probably because of all the trains that have gone by. The less busy the line, the better the frame rate gets after a long run. Yeah. Sorry, I know I don't normally delve into political rants on this channel, but HS2 is a rail line, and so I'm just commenting on it as I would any other line. And I do actually have one final point to make about HS2. Why does it's only going from Old Oak Common to Birmingham, a service which is already done by, oh yeah, we only have 45 seconds to get there. We're going to be late to Preston anyway. What was it? Yeah, HS2 only goes between London and Birmingham now. And for the moment it'll only go between Old Oak Common and Euston, which is crazy because, well, Old Oak Common isn't connected to isn't a major London terminus by any means, which means you have to arrive at Old Oak Common and then take the Elizabeth line if you want to get into London, which is just, yeah, like, why not have it directly into Euston and have it interface with the London Underground? But yeah, having HS2 only going between London and Birmingham is crazy, because we already have a high-speed line going between London and Birmingham, which is called the West Coast Main Line. Like, why? Why have a high-speed line going between London and Birmingham when one already exists? It just doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of taxpayer money. But now, because it's so far along in the stages, it now has to be completed, because, well, what are you going to do with all that infrastructure now? It's not exactly as if it can be used for something else. Yeah, frame rate's not doing too good. 17 frames a second. Ouch. There's the line coming in from Blackpool. Ooh, hello, you're a rarity. Skipper Pacer, chocolate and cream. You don't see those too often as AI. I just had AWS and DSD go off simultaneously. We are slightly late into Preston, but that should be more than made up for by the by all the points you've put into the safety, by having the safety systems on, if you know what I mean. Alright, let's have a bit of loco break. Ooh, hello. Sea cow wagons. Let's have a look and see what stock's over there. 40 sea cows, 47, 47, 47. My goodness, no wonder it's lagging my game. That's a lot of diesel exhaust effects for my computer to render. 2 minutes late to Preston, but yeah, they have bigger delays than that in real life, let me tell you. There's another 86 train on the left there. So if we have a look, you're just a bunch of coaches, and you're doing Euston to Stranraer. Okay, I think you're an 86, aren't you? If you're Euston to Stranraer. Welcome to Preston. Let's do a bit of an earlier stop, why don't we? Oh. There we go. I don't want to run that red signal. I've run that red signal at the platform before. It's not good. Let's have a look at the Euston to Stranraer train. Oh goodness, my frame rate is not having a good day. What's this end? Oh, you're a nameless Class 86, number 251. You're a 101 heading to Manchester from Blackpool. And then you lot are just a bunch of coaches that don't have a locomotive, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you don't have a locomotive, so you must have terminated here then. So that's... Alright, nearly ready to depart. So let's... shut the doors. Alright, only lost 32 points to speeding. Had a bit of on-time bonus despite being 2 minutes late, so that's not too bad. So yeah, that'll be all for this video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on the next one. And have a happy new year. Goodbye.